Finally, the week one college football season has taken place. And what we're going to do in this segment class is this. We're going to have observations from week one, the winners and the losers of college football. And this has been a long off season for me. As you know, this is my first full year with this channel. And it's been a hell of a journey so far, and we're only into week one. But today I'm going to give you my winners and my losers from week one. And you guys and gals, tell me your winners and losers from week one. Let's talk about it. The home of the Common Joe and the Common Sally in the know, even more so than all those media talking. Here we go again on our own. That's right, that old White Snake song I like to reference so much. I know I intermix them a little bit, but that one's always my favorite one to come back to because I feel like it just fits and it applies to all the Common Joes and Sallies in the know. One of the best songs of the hard rock genre. Check it out. White Snake. Here we go again on our own. Now, this is the OCF. This is Outlaw of College Football. I'm also known as JPC. You can also find me on Twitter at OCF Productions, as well as Facebook under Jesse Paul Clark. Jesse spelled Jesse. Now, week one and week two, winners and losers. That's what we're going to touch on today. And I'd also like to have you guys and gals tell me your winners and losers in the comment section, if you don't mind, because that's what makes this show go round. Now, I'm going to start off with the biggest loser of the day, in my opinion, was the Oregon Ducks. They come all the way out west. They got a brand new coach that was actually the former defensive coordinator for the Georgia Bulldogs. So, you would think that he might know their offense a little bit, right? Wrong answer. He comes out there and proceeds to give up 49 points. And he's supposed to be one of the best defensive coordinators. And people are like, well, it's his first game, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, well, it was also Billy Napier's first game, and he was playing a top 10 team as well. And Billy Napier looked like he done pretty well in assimilating his defense and preparing him for a top 10 opponent. But Oregon, to me, embarrassed themselves so much more than that. 49-3. Now, I can understand getting your ass handed to you a little bit. You're on the road. You're going way out to Atlanta, Georgia. You're basically playing a road game against Georgia, who ain't but, about an hour from Atlanta, if that much. But you didn't just get beat by a couple of touchdowns. You didn't just get your ass whooped. You got annihilated, man. You got made to look like a schoolgirl out there on the playground getting your skirt pulled down. How you lose 49-3 is beyond me. Georgia, they give people hell about starting off with cupcakes and stuff, but Georgia would probably got more of a game out of playing Georgia State. or freaking, I don't know, Appalachian State. Appalachian State or Georgia State or Tulsa or any of those teams would have probably played Georgia a lot closer than Oregon did. Oregon got delegated to being a homecoming opponent in the first week. And if they're trying to audition for the Big Ten, boy, oh boy, if I'm the Big Ten, I might want to stay the hell away from those Ducks because they look like yeah. And one of the biggest winners of the day, to sort of mix things up here, was the Georgia Bulldogs. Of course, Stetson Bennett, everybody's been giving him hell, even me. I've said numerous times that Georgia cannot win a national championship they can't win consistently with Stetson, and he continues to prove people wrong. And their defense only give up 3 points. So maybe people need to start thinking that maybe they were wrong about Stetson. Now, while he may not look like the most physically gifted player in college football or quarterbacks as far as history goes, he's getting the job done. Now, he may not go to the NFL and light it up, and he may not be a big success story. That sort of reminds me of Tim Tebow. He was a great college quarterback. There's been a lot of players that were great college quarterbacks, and there's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing wrong with Stetson Bennett. I used to be a big can't even speak today. I used to be a big critic of Stetson Bennett. But this game right here, now we don't know how good Oregon really is. So that later on in the year, we'll see. But as far as week ones goes, and I know people say we can't get ahead of yourself. You can't get on a Stetson Bennett bandwagon just yet. But as far as week one goes, you got to give Stetson Bennett his due. And Stetson Bennett, he looked like the real deal. So I would say Georgia and Stetson Bennett were the biggest winners of the day. Now back to the losers. Those Iowa Hawkeyes, boy, they were up on the South Dakota State. Right here. The South Dakota State Jackrabbits almost jacked their ass up. This game was 5-3 going into the fourth quarter. And what did Iowa do to pull it out? They got another safety. Ooh, that's impressive, Iowa. And I've always said, I don't know, never have understood why the Iowa Hawkeyes and Kirk Ferentz get so much pub. And I mean, I really like their whole hospital thing and whatnot. That's great. But Kirk Ferentz, to me, is the most overrated coach of all time as far as current coaches go. So Iowa was the big loser of the day, too, as they almost got embarrassed and jacked up by the Jackrabbits. Now moving on to the second winner of the day, the Oklahoma fan base, baby. That's right, the Boomer Sooners, boy. They got the job done. And people's like, well, you blew out UTEP, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but that's what you're supposed to do. I mean, just ask UCLA, UCLA, Nebraska, and Iowa, who all struggled with these teams that you're supposed to blow out. Well, Oklahoma did what they're supposed to do. But other than that, the most impressive thing was the Oklahoma fans. Did you see the stadium? Rocking. If I'm not mistaken, it was a sellout for UTEP. Now, you'll compare that to our next loser. That's right. Those USC Skittle Shitters from LA. Those LA Skittle Shitters laid an egg on the first week. Yeah, of course, they beat Rice 66-14, but a lot of people don't realize that Rice run right down the field. When the game, this wasn't no garbage touchdown now. They drove down the field, the length of the field, very first possession when the game was still very much in doubt, and boom, 7-0 lead on that vaunted Alex Grinch defense. Burning trash bin, that's what that is. Oh, I got losers and the winners right there together, man. That's great. Winners, Oklahoma Sooners fan base. Losers, USC fan base, because they didn't show up. They didn't show up. If you'll look right up here, look at these pictures. Nobody showed up, really. They'll give you an estimated crowd of, what was it, 30, 35,000? And Oklahoma sells out. And then the USC people will come back with the whole thing with, oh, well, it was Rice. We had volleyball and transgender leagues in Santa Barbara to go to and blah, 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 blah. Oh, and it was 104 degrees down there. Well, guess what? It was 104 degrees in Oklahoma. And they showed up. So, what happened, USC? What happened to this glorious era that was taking place today? Mr. Colin Coward? Hey, well, we scored 66 points on Rice. Hey, okay. Yeah, y'all did. But y'all give up 14 to a Rice offense during the game when the game was still in doubt. So, yeah, biggest winner of the day on that, Oklahoma Sooners fan base. USC Skittle Shitters. Now, moving on. Alabama. University of Alabama come out and did exactly what they were supposed to do. This game was 55-0. If I'm not mistaken, at the end of the third quarter, and ended up 55-0. You see, because there's a difference between Alabama and people like USC and stuff. Now, why Alabama has scored in the 60s before is because those teams get out there and they can't stop the third and fourth stringers. And can't really tell third and fourth string players who bust their ass in practice and on the scout team not to go out there and try to score. I've always said that. I've always been a I almost called him Superior. He would like that. I've always been a Steve Spurrier proponent in that deal where, it's really your job to stop us once we put the third and fourth string in. Now, USC, to me, I think they were piling on a little bit, because of Rice scoring 14 points on them. But the Alabama offense come out and look flawless. They did what they were supposed to do against a Utah State team, by the way. People want to say we start out with a cupcake. Utah State was 11-3 last year, won the Mountain West Conference, and they went to a bowl game. So, can USC say that about Rice? No. Back to the losers. The Nebraska Cornhuskers. Frost is done, in my opinion. The only way Scott Frost saves his job is if he beats Oklahoma in Lincoln. And I would have said, hey, they could get pissed off after losing that game in Northwestern, come into that game fired up and have their backs against the walls and whatnot. But the fact is, and the thing that it's in Lincoln would probably help them in standing up to Oklahoma and pulling out a miraculous victory of some sort to save Scott Frost's job. But there's a problem with that. You see, North Dakota, that's right, not North Dakota State. North Dakota went into Lincoln and had this game 24-17 in the fourth quarter. There's no excuse for that. Like I said, if you was playing one of the perennial powers in 1AA, like North Dakota State, then I could understand. But North Dakota, while they're a decent FCS team or CIA or FBI or whatever they call it, DNA League, whatever, man. Get tired of them changing the damn name. They should have stuck with 1A and 1AA. But to let them come into Lincoln and play you for 4 quarters and be within a touchdown, you run a score up at the end, try to make it look good, is inexcusable. Now, you got Georgia Southern coming in. I'm not sure how good Georgia Southern is this year. But I know in the past, Georgia Southern used to be a 1AA power. So if you're having problems with North Dakota, you might have problems with them, And then you play Oklahoma. And like I said, I was thinking the fact that you got them in Lincoln and the fact that you lost Northwestern, that maybe you could use this as some kind of rallying cry, but you couldn't even rally against North Dakota State and blow them out like you were supposed to. So I think Scott Frost is done. Only way he's not done is, like I said, if he pulls off a miraculous victory against Oklahoma, and maybe he's going to have to win a few more games too other than Oklahoma. Now, back to the winners. The winners. The Texas Longhorns, surprisingly. I know, once again, playing La Monroe, I know they're playing a team that's not considered a great powerhouse in college football, but the thing is, Texas did what they were supposed to do. So people out there saying, ooh, they blew them out 52-10, they were supposed to. Okay, like I said, reference them back again, once again, UCLA, Nebraska, and Iowa. Yeah, they didn't do what they were supposed to do, and they almost lost. So Texas Longhorns looked quite well to me. To come out and put 52 points on the board against Monroe and do what they were supposed to do in their first game with Quinn Ewers at quarterback, if I'm not mistaken, that was their starter, to me was slightly impressive. So now they go into this game with Alabama doing what they were supposed to do. They might have slightly struggled in the first half with Monroe, but they did what they were supposed to do. Bodes well for Texas in the future. Even if they don't win this game against Alabama, if they stay competitive, I think it bodes well, as much to the chagrin of the Sooner fan base out there that I like to cater to sometimes. If they stay close with Alabama in this upcoming game, I think that bodes well for Steve Sarkisian going forward. And hell, they might even pull the upset. So watch out, my Crimson Tide, when you go on the road to Austin this week. Now, back to the losers. Well, I already said the USC fans, so let's skip down here. Because we all know USC fans, well, do they have fans in USC yet? Because didn't anybody really show up? I mean, maybe Colin Coward probably paid about 10 or 20,000 of those people, pulled them off the streets and whatnot from shitting in the streets and put them in the stands. But the next loser on the list is Notre Dame versus Ohio Stank. That's right, Ohio Stank. Ohio State was supposed to blow Notre Dame out according to Las Vegas. Now, this ain't me saying that. Las Vegas said it was a 17-point favorite, maybe even 18 points the time the game kicked off. And they struggled to push this thing to double digits at the end. It ended up 21-10. Well, they beat a top 5 school. Yeah, but according to Las Vegas, Notre Dame wasn't a top 5 school. You don't give a top 5 school, you don't make a top 5 school an 18-point underdog. And that game, I tried to watch it, man. I watched it off and on. It was boring. This is an Ohio State offense that's supposed to be one of the best offenses in America. They're supposed to come out and just rattle cages and score 40 or 50 points a game. Now, I didn't expect them to score 40 or 50 on Notre Dame, don't get me wrong. But, man, they struggled to put 21 on the board. That 21 didn't go up on the board until the fourth quarter. So this offense, it may not be as gelled as people think. So we'll see going forward. Like I said, they're playing a tough game, and in the first game of the year being Notre Dame, for the offense to gel completely, I understand that's probably not going to happen, but I still think they underwhelmed me a little bit. I still think that Ohio State should at least have put up 31 points on Notre Dame yesterday, but they didn't. So we'll see going forward. Notre Dame as well. I mean, neither team to me was really that impressive. It was, like I said, just a blah vanilla game for me. But anyway, the last winner of the day, those Florida Gators. Chomp, chomp, baby. I'll be honest with you, I was with just about everybody else, and I thought this was Utah's time to prove themselves. I even predicted Utah would win this game by maybe 7 to 10 points. But the Florida Gators fought through adversity with a first-year head coach, playing a top 10 school, albeit in their own house. Now, if the game been in Utah, things might have been a little bit different, but we'll never know until they play them in Utah. But this, to me, was Utah's chance on the big stage to prove themselves and to win a game against premier competition that's considered national championship caliber competition year in and year out, that being the SEC, Florida Gators, Alabama, and all of them, Georgia, whatnot. And they didn't win the game. Their guy, Cam Rising, threw an interception in the end zone at the end of the game, and I saw him after the game. He was pissed. He was railing on his teammates, and that sort of didn't impress me well, Cam. You need to take ownership in what you did, brother. You threw the interception, own that shit. Don't be getting in nobody's face for some shit that you did. But I will say this for Utah. At least they didn't go out there and lay an egg and completely embarrass themselves like some other Pac-12 school did up in Atlanta. That being the Oregon Ducks. They did come in, they fought well, they come into a very hostile environment and almost pulled the game out. Probably should have. When going forward now, Utah needs to take this as a learning lesson. They can overcome this. Florida continues to do well, and I consider Florida probably a dark horse now. I mean, because Kentucky's, I think they're starting running backs out for the first 6 games of the year, or something like that. They were considered an underdog in both these games, but now that Kentucky's running back's not in the mix, Florida could easily be 2-0 after the Kentucky game and looking to maybe be a dark horse in the SEC East Division. And if that's the case, then Utah from here forward needs to root for the Florida Gators to win as many games as they can. And Utah, like I said, can take this as a learning lesson, take it back to the Pac-12, take what they learned and win out. Because that's what they're going to have to do at this point. Utah was considered a dark horse for the college football playoff, but now I think they definitely will have to win out to make the top 4. And that's my college football week 1 winners and losers of the week. You guys and gals, tell me what you think. Also, up underneath this video, there's a little heart option. It says thanks. Click on that, give me a few dollars in the coffers, get me off the YouTube teat. And as always, KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now officially dismissed.